Wildlife, open vehicles, and excited travelers. What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, quite a lot. African safaris are full of surprises, and not all of them are the kind you hope for. From sudden run-ins with wild animals to unexpected travel mishaps, here are 20 African safari trips that went horribly wrong. Number 20. Hyena attack in Kruger Park. Kruger National Park in South Africa is famed for its stunning scenery and incredible wildlife. It's a bucket list spot for many, but in 2016, a family's peaceful camping trip took a terrifying turn. As night fell, a teenage boy slept in his tent, only to be woken abruptly by intense pain. A hyena had silently crept into their campsite and launched an attack. Still dazed and confused, the boy screamed while the hyena's strong jaws clamped down on his face. He later described the crunching sound as if chips were being crushed beneath heavy boots. Not exactly the noise you want while camping in the wild. The family rushed to his aid, and thankfully, a nearby ranger arrived just in time to scare the animal away. The injuries were severe, with deep facial wounds needing extensive care. Physical scars may fade, but the emotional trauma will likely last much longer. This attack highlights just how unpredictable and dangerous a night in the African bush can become. Hyenas are often mislabeled as mere scavengers, but they are cunning predators that can strike without warning. This incident is a sharp reminder that even the quietest nights in Africa's reserves carry real risks, and visitors must always stay vigilant in the wild. Number 19. Nightmare canoe trip. A peaceful canoe trip can turn into a nightmare faster than you can paddle. In 1996, safari guide Paul Templer was leading a group down Zambia's Zambezi River when things went horribly wrong. The weather was perfect, the river calm, and everything seemed set for a smooth adventure. Then the river's most notorious resident appeared. A hippo charged out of the water like an angry tank, furious and fast. Despite their slow, bulky appearance, hippos are among Africa's deadliest animals. This one slammed into the canoe, flipping it and throwing everyone into the water. Before Paul could react, he was face to face with the furious giant, and the attack was savage. The hippo mauled him so severely that one of his arms was severed. Paul survived against all odds, but the physical injuries and emotional scars stayed with him. His story is a grim reminder that nature is no theme park. Hippos don't warn, they just charge. On the Zambezi, calm waters belong to the hippos, and they don't always share their domain kindly. Number 18. Lions outsmart tourists. Some safari visitors return with memories. Others leave with lessons learned. This group in Kruger National Park ended up with both. Their slow drive through the park was interrupted when a lioness casually approached their vehicle. At first, she appeared calm, even curious, and the tourists readied their cameras. Then, the situation took a sharp turn. The lioness began biting and pulling on the door handle, and to everyone's shock, she managed to open it. The passengers screamed, slammed the door shut, and quickly locked it, likely for the first time that day. Lions, it seems, are clever. Spending time near humans has taught them a few tricks, including how to manipulate door handles. What was chilling was the lioness's casual attitude, as if this wasn't her first attempt. So, next time you think your car is a safe barrier in lion country, think again. These big cats aren't just stunning creatures. They're problem solvers with a knack for opening doors. Number 17. Tiger tour bus under siege. Next, there's shaky footage that might make you rethink your safari plans. Imagine a tour bus that looks barely held together, rattling through a park where tigers roam freely and up close. Unlike the typical open jeep, this bus is a caged vehicle with tourists inside peering out through wire mesh. It's hard to tell who's the main attraction, the visitors or the tigers. The big cats casually stroll up, press their faces against the mesh, and give a chilling stare that says, "We're watching you." If that doesn't put you on edge, the bus itself might. It's creaky and rattling, seemingly one mechanical failure away from a breakdown. Should the engine stall, who knows what these curious tigers might do? They could easily figure out how to get inside and turn the tourists into their next spectacle. It's safe to say that being trapped on a bus with tigers is a whole new level of wildlife adventure. Definitely a wild ride. Number 16. Rhino rampage in the Serengeti. Safari guides are the true heroes of the wild. They understand the terrain, interpret animal signals, and stay composed when most would be scrambling for safety. Yet, even the most seasoned can be caught off guard. In 2020, deep within Tanzania's Serengeti National Park, one veteran guide confronted one of Africa's most unpredictable giants, the black rhino. This rhino was far from welcoming. The guide was part of a wildlife monitoring team tracking black rhinos on foot. The plan was simple: observe quietly, take notes, and respect the animal's boundaries. But black rhinos aren't exactly known for patience. They are fiercely territorial, hot-tempered, and powerful enough to flip a vehicle, let alone a person. Despite careful attempts to maintain distance, one rhino decided the guide was too close. Without warning, it charged. The guide had no chance to react. The rhino's horn struck with devastating power, inflicting severe injuries. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, and through a stroke of luck, the guide survived. The incident was far from routine. It was painful, dangerous, and unforgettable. Tracking wildlife on foot can bring you closer to nature. But when your subject weighs several tons and has a volatile mood, the risk skyrockets. Don't be fooled by their bulk. Black rhinos can sprint as fast as a person and don't break mid-charge. This was more than a scare. It was a fierce reminder of the wild's raw power. Now it's time for today's topic. In July 2025, a guided safari tour along the Zambezi River in Zambia turned into a nightmare when a hippopotamus suddenly charged out of the water, attacking a group of tourists waiting near the riverbank. Witnesses say the massive animal emerged without warning, its jaws gaping wide as it lunged directly toward the startled visitors. According to local reports, the hippo clamped down on one tourist's head in a split-second attack, dragging him under the murky water before the guides could react. Others in the group scrambled to safety as the guides used sticks and shouted in an attempt to scare the animal off. The injured tourist was pulled back onto land moments later, bleeding heavily but miraculously alive. He was rushed to a nearby clinic before being airlifted to Lusaka for emergency surgery. Safari experts note that hippos, despite their calm appearance, are among Africa's most aggressive and territorial animals, responsible for more human deaths on the continent than lions or crocodiles. They are especially dangerous when people venture too close to their waters. Officials have since reminded tourists that even shallow riverbanks in hippo territory can be lethal. For many on that safari, the chilling roar and bloody jaws of that hippo will never be forgotten. Number 14. Overly curious camels. Sometimes wildlife gets just a little too inquisitive. During a visit to a safari park in Alexandria, Louisiana, one man found out the hard way that camels have no qualms about demanding snacks. AJ and his friend Callie were driving through when they reached the camel enclosure. The camels instantly recognized an open window and interpreted it as a call for food. Without hesitation, one camel shoved its long neck inside the car, sniffing for anything edible. AJ wasn't prepared for this level of interaction and immediately panicked. In a frantic scramble, he climbed into the back seat as if trying to escape some movie villain. Meanwhile, Callie was in the front, doubled over with laughter at the absurd spectacle unfolding around her. But the camels weren't finished. They followed the car, persistently sticking their heads through the windows as if they were the real tourists seeking treats. AJ, catching his breath, could only watch his friend laugh uncontrollably. Such moments are part of the unpredictable charm of safari visits, where you might not escape a camel's inquisitive nose or your own friend's hysterics. Number 13. Elephant explosion in the Delta. There's close to nature and then there's way too close. In Botswana's Okavango Delta, a dream safari rapidly turned into an enormous nightmare. The group was cruising across the golden grasslands, soaking in the beauty and tranquility. Birds were singing, a gentle breeze blew, and in the distance stood a lone bull elephant, seemingly calm and minding its own business. The tourists kept their distance, cameras ready to capture the majestic scene. But the elephant had other ideas. Suddenly, it went from serene to furious. Its ears flared wide, trunk lifted high, and then full charge. The guide shouted warnings as the safari truck shook violently under the force of the charge. The calm, picture-perfect moment became a wild adrenaline rush. The elephant slammed the vehicle, rocking it back and forth like a toy. Fortunately, the truck held up and no one was hurt. The group escaped with their limbs and their lunch intact but deeply shaken. It's easy to forget that elephants, despite their slow pace, are incredibly powerful and intelligent. They're not gentle giants to be toyed with. One wrong move, one wrong vibe, and they'll charge as if they've got somewhere urgent to be and fast. Number 12. Gorilla encounter turns hostile. Trekking through Uganda's dense, mist-covered forests to find gorillas is a dream for many. Imagine navigating thick jungle paths surrounded by towering trees, all to meet some of the planet's most majestic creatures. In 2019, a group of tourists experienced more than they expected when their tranquil hike took a frightening twist. Fully briefed on respectful behavior around gorillas, they were caught off guard by a highly territorial silverback. Suddenly sensing the group's movements as a threat, the massive gorilla charged with surprising speed and force. Silverbacks fiercely protect their families and territories, reacting swiftly to any sign of danger. The tourists were rattled, and some suffered injuries, but luckily the situation didn't escalate further. The guides acted fast, calming the animals and averting disaster. This close call is a powerful reminder that gorillas, while usually gentle, are still wild and must be treated with caution. Would you still be willing to hike those twisting jungle trails, knowing how quickly things can turn? The thrill of guerrilla trekking is unforgettable, but it demands respect for the unpredictable nature of the forest. Number 11. When a lion walk goes deadly. Sometimes the wild doesn't wait for you to finish posing. In 2018, at a private reserve near Pretoria, South Africa, what was supposed to be an unforgettable lion walk ended in tragedy. Lion walks are bucket list experiences, letting you stroll alongside majestic lions under guide supervision. Sounds incredible until it's not. A young woman, eager for a great photo, stepped just a few feet off the designated path, camera in hand, trying to capture the perfect shot. But beyond the safety boundary, nature's rules apply, and the lioness wasn't interested in social media. Without warning, the lioness lunged. There was no growl, no threat, just raw, wild instinct. The woman was dragged down, and despite quick rescue efforts, her injuries were fatal. The news shocked the world and sparked heated discussions within the safari community. Experts reminded everyone that lions aren't oversized house cats. They're apex predators with deadly reflexes. The reserve's safety protocols and the entire idea of walking with lions faced serious scrutiny. Should humans ever get so close to such dangerous creatures? This tragic event sent a clear message. Wild animals don't follow human rules. If you think about stepping off the path for that perfect shot, remember this. Lions don't take breaks, and neither does nature. Number 10. Croc strike in the Delta. Wading through an African river sounds like a bucket list adventure, but in 2016, one visitor in Botswana's Okavango Delta learned a brutal lesson. This intrepid, or perhaps overly confident, traveler was crossing a shallow stretch, soaking in the stunning surroundings. Birds sang, the sun was warm, and everything seemed perfect. But beneath the surface, a Nile crocodile lay in wait. Then, without warning, the croc launched itself from the water like a missile, sinking its powerful jaws into the man's leg. There was no growl or warning, just a sudden, bone-crushing bite. The attack was swift and savage. One moment he was enjoying a peaceful stroll, the next he was fighting for his life. Luckily, his companions and nearby guides reacted quickly, pulling him to safety before the crocodile could inflict more damage. Still, the injuries were severe, and the dream safari turned into a nightmare. Nile crocodiles aren't slow, lazy reptiles. They are stealthy, lightning-fast predators, always on the lookout for prey. They don't discriminate between wildebeests, birds, or unwary tourists. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a harsh reality check. Africa's rivers may be beautiful, but stepping into their waters means entering a territory ruled by teeth the size of your fingers. Next time you're offered a river crossing, maybe let the boat do the work. Number 9. Hippo chaos on the Zambezi. Safari bushwalks are supposed to be serene affairs. Just you, the guide, and the quiet wilderness. But in 2024, 70-year-old Lisa Manders discovered that the wild doesn't always follow the script. Lisa and her group were enjoying a peaceful walk along a riverbank in Zambia. The air still, the water calm, everything feeling safe. Then, out of nowhere, disaster struck. A hippo erupted from the river like a charging missile, teeth bared and fury unleashed. Despite the guide's efforts to protect the group, the animal singled out Lisa. She was attacked and seriously injured before the hippo retreated. What started as a calm safari moment flipped into a nightmare within seconds. Lisa survived, but her injuries were significant. Her husband, outraged and devastated, filed a lawsuit against the tour operator, accusing them of failing to properly evaluate the risks and protect their clients. The case sparked heated debate about safety protocols and where to draw the line between adventure and recklessness. Hippos may look like slow, dozing giants, but they are among Africa's deadliest creatures. Quick to defend their territory, they don't hesitate to charge. Lisa's ordeal exposed the stark truth. In the wild, nature calls the shots. A bushwalk might sound idyllic, but with creatures like hippos lurking nearby, every step can be dangerous. If you crave authenticity, just don't expect the hippo to care about your insurance. Number 8. Midnight hyena mayhem. A quiet night under Zimbabwe's stars became a scene of terror in 2015 when a camper found himself face to face with a savage intruder. Everything was peaceful. The tent was zipped up. The night sounds of crickets filled the air. Then, from the darkness emerged a hyena. Not a playful meerkat or mischievous monkey, but a full-grown predator. And it wasn't there to socialize. Hyenas don't get the same spotlight as lions or leopards, but they have crushing jaws and zero patience when it comes to food or anything they mistake for it. This hyena likely followed the scent of snacks or humans and wandered straight into the tent. What happened next was chaos. The attack was sudden and brutal, catching the camper completely off guard. It took the uproar of nearby campers and staff to scare the animal away. The victim survived, but suffered serious injuries and trauma. It wasn't just the wounds that hurt, but the shock of being attacked in what should have been a safe shelter. Camping in the wild offers incredible views and stories to tell, but it also blurs the line between serene and savage instantly. Hyenas may be known for their eerie laughter, but don't mistake that for playfulness. Number 7. Cheetah chaos for a selfie. That perfect wildlife selfie for Violet DLO turned into a nightmare she won't forget. In 2012, Violet and her husband were exploring Namibia and visited a wildlife sanctuary promising close-up encounters with tame cheetahs. It sounded like a dream come true. Feeling confident, Violet crouched beside a few resting cheetahs, ready for a photo that would wow her friends. But just as the camera clicked, one cheetah decided it had enough of the attention. Suddenly, it lunged and bit deeply into her arm. In the panic that followed, the sanctuary staff scrambled to push the cheetahs away, using sticks and shouting to distract the predators. Violet's husband desperately tried to shield her, even throwing himself between her and the animals, but the cat's raw strength made it nearly impossible to pull her free. Witnesses later described the scene as a nightmare in slow motion, where every second felt like an eternity. Blood stained the sand, and Violet's screams echoed across the sanctuary grounds until finally the cheetahs were forced back. Then, the situation escalated quickly. More cheetahs joined in, and what should have been a cute picture moment became a terrifying attack. Violet screamed as her husband and staff rushed to pull the cats away. It was chaotic, painful, and nothing like she expected. She survived, but suffered serious wounds and trauma far beyond what any bandage could fix. Even trained cheetahs don't read scripts or sign liability forms. This shocking event revealed an uncomfortable truth. Wild animals stay wild. Cheetahs may look sleek, elegant, and perfect for photos, but they're built to hunt, and their instincts don't take holidays. Next time you're tempted to get close, remember a zoom lens keeps the memories safer for everyone. Number 6. Baboon chaos at Cape Point. Some travelers come for majestic views, others for thrilling wildlife sightings, but a handful got way more than expected in 2016 at South Africa's Cape Point. This area, famed for dramatic cliffs and stunning panoramas, suddenly became a battleground thanks to a troop of baboons on a mission. Tourists were enjoying a picture-perfect picnic under the sun, savoring sandwiches and the fresh sea air. Then, without warning, the local baboons declared it was their lunchtime and they were ready to take over. If you picture polite monkeys nibbling crackers, think again. Within seconds, backpacks were ripped open and bottles of soda rolled across the grass as the troop's dominant male led the charge. Cameras caught the surreal scene of baboons baring their teeth, while children screamed and parents tried to shield their food. One woman clung desperately to her picnic basket, only to have a baboon yank it away with surprising strength before climbing onto a rock to feast. Rangers later explained that these baboons had become so accustomed to human snacks that they often patrol the area like seasoned bandits. Visitors described the chaos as equal parts terrifying and hilarious, with some admitting they abandoned their lunches and ran for cover. Though no one was seriously hurt, scratches and scrapes were reported, along with plenty of ruined meals. The incident sparked debate among conservationists, with some arguing that feeding bans need stricter enforcement to prevent baboons from associating humans with food. Shrieks filled the air as plates flew, and some visitors were left with cuts and bruises. Though no serious injuries occurred, the chaos rattled nerves all around. Rangers had to intervene to restore order, but the baboons had already won the battle. These brazen primates were known troublemakers, and the incident sparked a heated debate about how to keep tourists safe while respecting wildlife. Some tourists later called it the most exhilarating lunch ever, because nothing says holiday story like having your sandwich stolen by a fearless baboon. Number 5. Hyena hunt gone wrong. Now, meet a man whose confidence nearly cost him dearly. In 2012, an overconfident tourist thought he could take on Kenya's Masai Mara solo. That belief was shattered when a pack of hyenas started chasing him. These animals aren't just scavengers, they're skilled hunters. Witnesses later described the terrifying scene of the tourist sprinting across the savannah, his shouts echoing, while the hyenas closed the gap with frightening speed. The predators worked together, circling and snapping at his heels, their eerie laughs filling the air. One hyena lunged and dragged him down briefly before he kicked free, only to be surrounded again within seconds. Rangers stationed nearby heard the commotion and rushed toward the cries, firing warning shots to scatter the pack. By the time they reached him, the man had already sustained deep bite wounds to his arms and legs, leaving him bleeding heavily on the ground. Locals later remarked how astonishing it was that he had even survived, as hyenas have one of the strongest bite forces in the animal kingdom. His screams had likely bought him just enough time for help to arrive. Afterward, security protocols in the reserve were drastically tightened. What do you make of adventures that push the limits like this? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Number 4. When a leopard hops in the truck. Safaris are meant to deliver excitement, but not this kind. In 2015 at South Africa's famous Kruger National Park, a guide and his group were enjoying a ride in an open vehicle watching wildlife from close quarters. What they didn't expect was a leopard jumping right into the truck. One moment it was blending into the bush, the next it was biting the guide's arm, sending the group into panic. No warning growl, just sudden claws and teeth. The leopard reportedly lunged with astonishing speed, locking its jaws onto the guide before anyone could react. Tourists screamed in terror as the vehicle shook from the predator's movements, some desperately trying to climb out while others froze in shock. Witnesses described the sound of tearing fabric and the guide's cries as he wrestled with the powerful cat. Blood quickly stained the seat, making the moment even more harrowing. The leopard clawed at the man's chest while trying to drag him from the vehicle, forcing passengers to strike at it with cameras, sticks, and even water bottles in a frantic attempt to save him. Nearby safari-goers in other vehicles watched in disbelief, some capturing the incident on shaky video. The chaos lasted mere minutes but felt like an eternity before help arrived. Thankfully, a ranger nearby intervened quickly and shot the leopard before anyone else got hurt. The guide survived, but suffered serious wounds, and the shock left nerves rattled. This incident showed just how quickly a safari can flip from thrilling to dangerous. Kruger may be expertly managed, but it's still the leopard's home. When they feel threatened, their reaction is primal, not polite. Open vehicles give incredible views, but little protection. Most safaris go smoothly, but this one proved a simple truth: you're not just observing nature. Sometimes nature crashes the party. Number 3. Buffalo Bull bulldozes safari truck. Safari rule number 2. Respect the big five, especially buffalo. In 2020, 2 tourists in Kenya's Masai Mara learned this the hard way. What started as a relaxed game drive quickly turned into a terrifying ordeal. The buffalo aren't flashy like lions or charming like giraffes, but they have serious anger and power. When one buffalo locked eyes with their vehicle, it made a decision. Without hesitation, it charged the truck like a battering ram, smashing into it with the force of a horned tank. The impact crumpled the metal panels and sent shockwaves through the safari jeep, leaving its side mirror dangling and tires groaning under the strain. Tourists in nearby vehicles shouted in alarm as dust filled the air, and the massive beast circled back, snorting and pawing the ground. The guy tried to rev the engine and inch the vehicle away, but the buffalo struck again, this time leaving a deep gouge across the hood. Inside, the tourists were thrown around like ragdolls in a tumble dryer. A peaceful ride became a survival struggle. Both were seriously hurt, and the guide scrambled to regain control. The buffalo eventually backed off, but the damage, physical, emotional, and mechanical, was done. These animals may look like oversized cows, but they're among the wild's most unpredictable residents. When they charge, it's not a bluff. This incident was a brutal lesson on how quickly things can escalate in the wild. Safaris are unforgettable adventures, but they're no amusement park. You're in their territory, and sometimes their world fights back. So, if a buffalo locks onto you, take it seriously. This grass-fed beast means business. Number 2. Hippo havoc on the Zambezi. Canoe safaris usually promise peaceful moments. Just you, the river, and nature's gentle sounds. But for British tourist Roland Cherry in 2024, things shifted from tranquil to terrifying in an instant. Roland, 63, was enjoying a leisurely paddle down Zambia's Zambezi River, basking in the sun, and feeling at one with the wild. That is, until a massive, angry hippo decided it wasn't having any uninvited visitors in its domain. Like a wrecking ball, the hippo charged Roland's canoe, flipping it over as if it were a toy and sending him soaring through the air. Witnesses later described the sheer force of the animal's impact as sounding like a thunderclap across the river. Locals, well aware of Hippo's notorious tempers, shouted warnings, but there was no time for Roland to react before the beast had him. As the canoe splintered, his paddle vanished beneath the churning water, and panic set in as the river turned into a scene of chaos. Fellow canoeists scrambled to get out of the way, fearing they might be next in the hippo's line of fury. Underwater, Roland felt the crushing power of jaws that can snap a crocodile in two, a reminder of the animal's dominance in African waterways. Miraculously, a nearby guide sped toward him in another canoe, shouting encouragement to keep him fighting. Every second felt like an eternity as the battle between man and beast unfolded in the murky depths of the Zambezi. Before he could even catch his breath, the hippo snapped its enormous jaws onto him and dragged him underwater. This was no warning tap or gentle shove. It was a full-on get-out-of-my-river assault. The hippo thrashed him around like a chew toy, but Roland fought back with every ounce of strength he had. By some combination of grit, luck, and adrenaline, he managed to break free and reach safety. Though seriously injured, Roland's survival was nothing short of miraculous. Hippos might look like lazy, oversized tubers, but they're responsible for more fatalities in Africa than lions, elephants, or crocodiles. They're fast, furious, and not fans of surprise guests. Roland's story is a powerful reminder. When you're drifting through the wild, you're not the star of the hippo's river. Number 1. Giraffe gone rogue. Safari rule number 1. Never underestimate any creature with legs longer than your body. In 2018, British scientist Katie Williams learned this lesson painfully while conducting research in South Africa. Most people imagine giraffes as gentle giants, tall, elegant, and peacefully munching leaves. But Katie discovered a far more dangerous side. While studying giraffe behavior, she probably expected a calm day of note-taking and maybe a few photographs. Instead, a giraffe she was observing suddenly lost patience and charged. Witnesses recalled the sheer silence of the savannah breaking into chaos as the giraffe thundered forward, its hooves striking the ground with terrifying force. The animal swung its long neck like a wrecking ball, a violent display of dominance that is usually reserved for rival males. Dust filled the air as Katie scrambled, but there was no outrunning an animal that can sprint at nearly 35 miles per hour. In that instant, the towering creature seemed less like a peaceful browser and more like a juggernaut of raw power and speed. The attack shocked the research team, who were forced to retreat as Katie endured the blows. With legs powerful enough to topple a small car, the animal struck Katie hard, sending her crashing to the ground. Then it trampled her repeatedly. Those hooves are huge, about the size of dinner plates. Katie suffered broken bones and internal injuries, giving her a survival story few dare to share lightly. Yet, she made it through with determination, medical care, and a new respect for wildlife's unpredictability. Her experience serves as a stark reminder. Even the most graceful creatures can become serious threats when provoked. Giraffes may not roar or stalk prey, but their strength is no joke. In the wild, you're always a guest, and some hosts don't appreciate surprise visits. Next time you lock eyes with a giraffe, remember, it may look serene, but it's packing serious power. Would you still dare to go on a safari after seeing this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you next time.